A composer is someone who is interested in the world and the sounds around them and uses sound to communicate their ideas and feelings with other people, just like a writer uses words or an artist might use paint. Being a composer means thinking about why you want to create a new piece of music, who you are writing it for. How will you do that using different sounds, structures and musical techniques? Composers have to plan and make decisions, but they also experiment and invent, trying out lots of different ideas and playing with sounds until they find or create what they are looking for. Then, sometimes they write down their ideas so that other people can perform them. The London Sinfonietta wants to hear your musical ideas and compositions. We are commissioning you to write new music for us. Take part in our composition challenges, see what you can create and send it in to us so that we can share it or perform it for you. Composers use lots of different sounds in their music. Often these sounds come from musical instruments, but there are composers who like to use sounds they find around them. This composition challenge uses any sound you can find and that you like, whether it comes from a musical instrument or is a sound made by an object you've found. Earth Ears is a piece of music by Pauline Oliveros. Oliveros describes Earth Ears as a sonic ritual. The word sonic refers to sound, and a ritual is like a ceremony where meaningful actions are taken in a particular order. The piece is written down as a list of instructions for performers to follow rather than being written down in traditional musical notation. It can be performed on musical instruments or by using found objects that make an interesting sound, or perhaps even a combination of both. Pauline Oliveros was as interested in the sounds that she heard in the world around her as she was in the sounds that musical instruments can make. To begin composing, do something really unusual. Go for a walk around your school playground or a local park or even just the rooms in your home. While walking, listen really carefully to everything you hear around you. The world is not silent. You might hear nature sounds. And urban sounds. Or even human sounds. When you have finished your walk, write down the sounds you heard in the order you heard them. Pauline Oliveros called this way of listening deep listening. It's the idea that you concentrate all your energies on just one of your senses. We are used to focusing all our concentration with our eyes. We call that staring. Stare at this dot. Keep staring. If everyone in the class is concentrating on staring at it, then it's likely that the room will become really quiet, as when we stare at something, we tend to be very still and quiet. Now see if you can transfer that staring energy into your ears. That is deep listening. What did you hear? Discuss this in your class and write it down. Now you have practiced deep listening, you can compose your own piece. You can do this as a class or in smaller groups of between 3 and 6 people. You can use any musical instruments that you have, or you can find and choose some objects that make interesting sounds. Each person in the group needs one object or instrument. Play and experiment with it to find out how to make a good sound. Once you have tried a few different sounds, choose one that you particularly like. In Earth Ears, Pauline Oliveros invites everyone to invent or compose a musical pattern, we call that an ostinato, using your chosen sound. Create your pattern using the sound of your object or instrument. You can also use or incorporate silences into your pattern. Keep it short and simple so you can repeat it very precisely. Once you've all composed a pattern, play all the patterns together and listen to how the sounds combine. This is the first part of our sonic ritual. You can make it even more detailed by thinking about how you'll start. Will you choose to start all together, or do you introduce one pattern at a time? For the second part of our ritual, we need to find a second sound from our object or instrument. Try and make it as contrasting as possible from your first sound. Now create another ostinato or musical pattern with your second musical sound. If your first pattern used lots of quick sounds, you might try using slower sounds. If your first pattern was very loud, you might try a quieter second pattern. Once everyone has composed their second pattern, practice performing the patterns together, just like you did with the first pattern. The combination of all these sounds is what we call the music's texture. You now have the two parts of your sonic ritual. The final stage of our composition is to decide how you want to put them together. For instance, how do you start your first part? Do you all start together or join one at a time? Which sound or sounds make an interesting beginning? Do you want to group together sounds that are similar or experiment with contrasting sounds? How do you move from your first pattern to your second? Do you all move at the same time, or do you stop and start again? How do you end your piece once you've played your second pattern? Do you stop at the same time, or do you agree in order so one person stops and then another, and so on? Now you've got your list of instructions, practice performing the piece together. When you've finished, reflect on what you did. Did you like the order of events, or do you want to experiment with them in a different way? finally, when you've got your performance really well rehearsed, perform it to other people. You can even record it and send it in to us, because we'd love to hear and see your compositions. You can send them to us at compositionchallenge@londonsinfonietta.org.uk. You can also find more information about us and watch the London Sinfonietta perform at www.londonsinfonietta.org.uk. We look forward to hearing your music soon.